wasn't on a very good site. There you go.
Oh, is that it?
How we got the malware.
No, it could be
that's
that fact that the PHPBB's been around for 17 years, and it's not exactly the most secure version of PHPB or PHP.
Let's perpetuate the stereotype that you're just getting DDoS attacked.
Okay,
that's what it all comes down to. That's what everybody assumes. So let's just say, yeah, Jay is under a massive DDoS attack from Anonymous, and they've taken down the entire infrastructure.
I'm always being DDoSed.
I'm getting DDoSed right now. Good thing I got 17 internet connections.
Forever DOSed.
Forever DOSed.
Oh, you know what part of the drop frames could be? I'm setting up 60, but I only have the stream set to 30. Let me see what.
You're on your Ryzen test box. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's why you're dropping frames, dude. You got your fire extinguisher handy?
There.
Those jokes will always be funny to me, Jay. Always. I don't care if anybody else laughs. I will keep making them.
95 watts is what it looks like the new Ryzen is supposed to be. Okay, so Digital Trends is talking about this too. I know WCCF talked about this, but I don't like WCCF tech because they're like tech tabloid as far as I'm concerned, so I don't pay attention to them. But as soon as Digital Trends picked this up, I got happy about this. So, Bottom Line Telecommunications, global service, whatever. So it's ShopBill. Is that it? ShopBLT.com. They're the ones that people realize if you go to their website and you typed in AMD AM4 in the search box, it actually came back with their links to pricing on the chips because they're going to be selling them. So here's what we've got. Now we kind of know what the naming is going to be of the chips if this turns out to be legit. So you've got 3 SKUs that are in their search box. You've got the 1700, the 1700X, and the 1800X. It looks like the 1800X is going to be that 8-core monster that we saw, where they were keeping pace with the $1,000 CPU from Intel, the 6900K. Do you remember what I told you? What I thought a good price point would be? That would be a good kick in the mouth to Intel and bring some market share back to AMD if the competition is there. Do you remember that number?
$100,000?
But I specifically said a number, and everyone thought I was crazy, and you said that as well. What was that number? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember.
I said $500. I said if AMD came out at $500, matching $1,000 CPU performance, that's how they'd bring back market share and excitement. And you were like, they can't do that. They wouldn't undercut that far. $490. $490 is what the pricing that's been leaked.
But again, we're not positive. We're not positive that that's the chip. We don't know if there's been modifications made. We don't know if there's like another SKU in between, or they're missing that SKU of the Mega one. We don't know.
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if they. Okay, but these are the SKUs that we know exist already. So why wouldn't it be in the database already?
I would buy one for $500. Like if it could rival the Extreme Edition Intel processor, I would pay $500.
No, not Extreme. The Extreme is the 10-core 20-thread. This would be the 6900K, which is the 8-core 16-thread.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's right, because this is Extreme like
1700.
It's out there. Yeah, no, you're right. But still, if they could come into the market with something that's comparable performance, even within like 10%. For that price, I don't see why people would just buy that and then like a half dozen fire extinguishers and just go to town.
Dude, at 95 watts though,
it ain't gonna light nothing on fire, dude. If it is 95 watts though, we know AMD fibs the numbers sometimes. It might be 95 watts idling until they actually tell it to add 2 numbers together and then it catches fire.
Also, too, people need to make sure they keep they know the difference between power draw and TDP. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Because what's the peak power draw? Did they ever release those numbers?
No.
What is the theoretical?
Well, no,
max
165. I think 165.
Okay, that sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah, because they were comparing to the 6900, which was 140 watt chip.
Yeah, so at 160, that's still a lot of power. That's a lot of heat dispersal there.
Well, it is, but if you're comparing it to like an X99 system, these aren't systems that are built with the idea of power efficiency in mind either.
Everybody in chat, Jerry's such a hater. No, I'll be the first, dude. Hey, I'm 4 people now. I'll be the first to jump on the AMD bandwagon, man. I'll go crawling back to those guys if they can produce that for $500. Hell, I might even put a 480 in there too and just throw caution to the wind.
I'm building an AMD test rig. I need to keep one on hand now because if we have a platform worth talking about, that's not always going to be with the mindset of budget performance. Yeah. Then I'm happy. Also, too, they promised a Q1 launch. We've got.
How's that going? Are they on track for that?
there are rumors about AMD launch date. Now, you know we're close if SKUs are already popping up in retails.
Here's the thing, though, is what company does just releases? Like, usually they announce the official release date long before they actually do it. So if they haven't announced an official release date, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're not on schedule to release in the first quarter.
I would say that I would say if they don't have a hard launch date, that means that they probably have manufacturing problems.
That's probably, I would agree with you there. Oh, and the other thing too is, what did I tell you about Intel and how they have so many things in their back pocket that anytime something comes out that rivals them, they can just like take a couple steps and catch up?
Oh,
I was
yeah.
doing a little reading about Cannon Lake this morning. like it sounds like they they basically just jumped KB Lake after what? How long's KB Lake been out? Like a couple months?
January 3rd.
and Cannon Lake's like already on the table and they're already talking about like the performance metrics for it and everything. It's almost like they just got it ready in the gate just in case for some reason Ryzen ends up being a huge success. They can just drop that the next day and say,
you know what?
We're going to undercut KB Lake down to $500 and then we'll, I think that's what they're going to do.
Okay, but KB Lake is not. Okay, I think you really got to brush up on your hardware, sir.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I will claim total hardware ignorance at this point.
KB Lake is mainstream. i7 7700K, etc. Those are already only like I say only. They're like $300. Okay.
Yes.
Or $329 or whatever that might be. Okay, you're confusing KB Lake with Skylake E, which is what we currently have with like 6900K and whatnot. Those are the $1,000 CPUs. So you're confusing mainstream with enthusiast platform.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's a parallel deployment, not sequential. They're both in competing spaces.
Right.
KB Lake and Cannon Lake. They're running.
No. KB Lake and Skylake E is what's out right now.
Yeah, but what's Cannon Lake when it drops?
Don't know yet exactly.
Okay, because Cannon Lake are all posting like 15% improvement across the board, blah blah blah.
The E platform or the enthusiast, which is what the E usually stands for, is typically lagging behind the mainstream. Okay, so mainstream launches like a lot of the newer tech, like when the onboard memory controller and all that happened, we were behind on the E platform. So usually it's about a year behind on that. But there's also rumors of X299 and all that stuff coming out in like June-ish. So yeah, but anyway, so the question is going to be what SKUs do they have to compete against Canyon? Or so you're not even seeing Canyon Lake against KB Lake. So I see a SKU here for 381 and 316. That's a 1700 and a 1700X. Now the 1700 is a 65 watt chip. I'm going to probably go out on a limb and say that's a quad core, non-hyper-threading-ish or whatever they're calling their technology.
So that's kind of what competition to the i5 kind of thing.
But the price point seems off if that's the case, unless this is some sort of a Canadian retailer.
What's the price on that one again? The low end?
316.
316. And what's the median price for like an i5 right now?
229,
oh,
239.
God. So yeah, you're right. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Unless this is a Canadian site. Can anyone confirm whether or not Bottom Line Telecommunications is Canadian or United States? Because if 490 Canadian, then that would put the 1800X at something against like a 7700K at that point.
I think we're missing a piece of information here.
Crater Lake.
Crater Lake.
So Crater Lake will be the IX 8000X.
Okay, so the current conversion rate from Canadian to US dollar is 76 cents. So yeah, about a quarter cheaper. So yeah, that'd put them right in the same price. The i5 versus that would be in the same price if that is a Canadian price.
Yeah, I just got corrected. They're right. Broadwell E is our current E platform. Skylake E is the one we're waiting on.
Okay.
Yeah. See Broadwell. Geez,
because the article
that shows
I read,
you we're already two technologies behind when it comes to the X platform, at least for the CPU tech.
Because what I read on Cannon Lake this morning was that they were directly comparing it to KB Lake in that it's a 15% performance boost. That's why I got confused about it being the replacement rather than the high-end version. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very confusing, but I do know that Intel has, I mean, they plan their shit out like Disney plans Star Wars, right? I mean, they know every single chip they're going to make through the next 20 years. It's just a matter of when they're going to release it.
1700 series is rumored to be an 8-core, 8-thread lower clock than the 1800 series. So if that's the 8-core stuff, that can't be 8-core at 65 watts. Unless it's 8-core without any sort of like... Because AMD does have a hyper-threading technology now. It's like a concurrent, thread utilization. So I assume the X SKUs would be the ones that have that, and then the 1765 watt doesn't. I would be very curious as to what the 8-core non-hyper-threading version would be at $316. Bottom line is American, not Canadian. So that's American pricing we're seeing.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, like from a competitive standpoint. So we'll have to see. But but the weird thing is, on the low end they're not competitive, but the high end they're stupid competitive.
But this is how. But I said this months ago. This is how you get market share back. You've got to shake it up. You've got to say.
Yeah, but they should do it across the whole board. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have the ultra low end basically go toe to toe with Intel, and then just have the highest end thing that you have in your lineup be half the price.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're really trying to force people to make that decision to go to that, in which case, why did you even release the slower processor to begin with? It's really weird. I'm curious to see what AMD does here, but I did a poll today on Twitter just asking people, if they've already decided on their next system whether they were going to build Zen or not, or Ryzen, and actually the percentage was
dude. This all comes down to stock ability, like to keep this in stock, supply and demand. If they've hyped this, okay, so here's how this could go bad, guys. If AMD hyped the shit out of this, and then they can't deliver, like you go to buy it and it's just not available, are you gonna? So I want you guys to answer in the comments. Are you gonna wait for it to become available? Look how long it took the 400 series, like the 480, to become available. Months, right? And there was stock supply for issues for months. Are you gonna wait, or are you just gonna buy yourself? I'm curious. Tell me in the comments on that.
I mean, I'd just buy Intel,
but if they've got an 8-core 16-thread CPU for 490 bucks, that's truly comparing to the 6900K. That's amazing. I would tell everyone to go buy that.
You'd be kicking yourself in the balls pretty hard if you went and bought the Intel equivalent and found out, 5 days later, all your friends are building these rigs for, half a grand cheaper.
Especially since they've already said AM4 is going to be around till at least 2020.
So tell me this: what do you think Intel's reaction to the market will be? Let's say AMD. Okay, AMD's just holding their cards close to their chest. They're not having manufacturing problems. The shit drops in the first quarter, like they thought it would, and it's $500. Do you think Intel is going to counter and try to compete by bringing down the pricing, or do you think Intel's really going to push hard into the next generation to basically try to just leapfrog it?
I think Intel's very complacent and very used to being the leader now for over a decade. I don't think they are truly concerned about any of this right now until market share slips. That's what they'll respond to.
You think they'll just stand their ground and hope that brand loyalty kind of keeps them going?
Yeah, I mean, there might be a slight price shift, but I don't think they're going to straight up drop a whole new line of product.
So this kind of surprised me today. Check this out. So I just did a really quick little poll, and I said, hey, what's your next build going to be? Is it going to be Ryzen or i7 for your next build? 27% said Ryzen, 41% said i7, and 32% said undecided. But still, that was a lot higher percentage than I was expecting for something that's not isn't out there and isn't proven yet.
Yeah.
It sounds like there are a lot of people out there that are really excited about trying something other than Intel. If nothing else, just to try something different.
I think it depends on your necessity for a build, and also to your level of fanboyism, because there's people that are going to be on the fence and willing to wait because they don't need a new system right now. But then there's going to be those early adopters that are going to wave their AMD flags all the way to the store and cheer and chant and make a big scene about it. And then there's people that I think are in the middle that are just kind of impartial, and they're just going, you know what, I'm going to wait for the reviews. I'll wait a little while and see what happens, and I'll make an informed decision based on the performance at that time, which is the way I've always been. It's just for the longest time there hasn't been any competitor on an AMD side that can give me the performance I wanted.
Yeah, so, I mean, I used to be an AMD like that. A lot of people don't realize this. I was back in the K5 and K6 days. Oh my God, I loved AMD. Everything I had was AMD back then because it was just so much cheaper. And it looks like we actually might be coming into a time where that's true again, where it's cheap and has some serious performance. Because remember, back in the day, the K5 CPUs, they did some things really well that Intel didn't do so well.
Oh yeah, the K5 and K6 stuff? Heck yeah.
Yeah, like in 3D Studio Max. Remember the old DOS version of 3D Studio Max? It had a plugin for it that would make it render super fast on AMD processors, and Intel never had anything like that. And that was all before the GPU, the GPU stuff came out and started taking over and reigning supreme.
Yeah. Guys,
Wow, do we really have 4,100 people watching right now?
well, look at the title.
Is it tech? Oh, wait, prices leaked. This is bad news for Intel. Okay, that actually makes sense. I'm looking down there. I'm like, wow, that's a little bit hotter than we usually run.
Yeah. Also, too, I apologize for this. I've dropped 3,295 frames so far. 3.8% of the show has dropped. I can't do anything about my ISP, guys. We just have to ride this out until I move to the studio, and then I have that fiber optic goodness. I've never had a connection like that. That's that fast.
So I have
It'll be so nice.
I have another good topic that we could segue into from this, and that is this whole CPU versus GPU.
We've talked about that before, though. I mean, how
well,
much?
no, we have, but there's more information and more things have changed. I mean, do you think that CPUs now are as big of a deal as they used to be? Like, I asked people, a lot of people did. Now, why? Tell me why. I mean, I know you have to have a CPU. I'm talking from a performance perspective. Why do you think? Because you look at CPUs and you look at the pricing for the CPUs and like the little bit of performance gains versus the GPU arc and how much performance and how many more cores they're gaining. It seems like the GPUs are on a much steeper arc as far as moving into the future than CPUs. The CPUs seem like they're much more stagnated growth.
Okay, so you need to get developers on board with that.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
Like for instance, people who don't spend their lives in coding video don't understand the way GPUs are used when it comes to at least mainstream editors like Adobe and whatnot. I'm not talking about like the full-on versions of DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that, you know, $30,000 software. I'm talking about real everyday stuff that people are using. GPUs are used for live playback, so it's like Adobe uses the Mercury engine, which then utilizes your GPU to do live playback with things like effects and transitions and all that stuff. That's all offloaded to your GPU when you're doing the editing portion, but when you're actually encoding it, it's all on CPU. It's all the CPU. So until you can get these companies like Adobe to actually utilize the GPUs in the actual encoding process, it makes no difference to me the argument of GPU versus CPU. I need the fastest CPU I can get, with the most parallel lanes of processing power, so I can do things while I'm working until GPUs can be utilized in that way.
No, I technically do agree. The thing that really bugs me on this argument though is how x86 should have been shot dead a long time ago, and the reason it hasn't is because there's so much development into it that not everybody wants to just slam on the brakes and move to a new platform.
Yeah.
But if they did, there are so many better platforms out there. I mean, because parallel computing is becoming the norm now, right? I mean, not every single operation you do can be, you know, parallelized, but some of them, or the majority of them actually can. And the GPU and CPU, I mean, they share a lot in common, other than the cache and the raw core speed, which is where CPUs reign supreme, right? You're not going to see GPUs that have freaking 4 gigahertz, you know, a speed on a single core. But you're going to see them have literally hundreds of cores, where overall you add all that together. If you were to parallelize something perfectly, you would have it across the board. It would be way faster, 100 times faster.
Let me tell you why companies like NVIDIA, this is all personal speak here. Companies like NVIDIA excite me not because they give you such good gaming performance, or they have really good GPUs for gaming, but because they're no longer just a semiconductor manufacturer for games and GPU leveraging for like things like Quadro and CAD and stuff like that. They recognize exactly what you're saying, and they've leveraged the GPU power into other segments of the world, right? So deep learning, which is you know they've got the P100 supercomputers now that can do things